Welcome back to the Tournament Center. I'm Randy Bueller here with Brian David Marshall, and we're joined by Rich Hagon. Welcome, Rich.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Rich. Rich has been doing the podcasting for us all weekend, so if you want a little more depth than you can get out of these little 5-minute snippets, head over to the website, listen to Rich's podcast. He's got, what, hours of footage by now?
Yeah, we've got plenty going on. I think the first thing we'd want to look at is what I call the Modo effect. You look at the premier event from last Saturday, and you sent shockwaves around
really
the pro circuit.
Absolutely.
8 white weenies. I mean, that's statistically utterly freaky. It doesn't matter how many went in.
It's like 13 of the top 16, too.
Yeah, it's a nonsense. And I think that's really shown in the number of pros who've brought red to the top tables. They've gone, here's a pro white blood knight. I've got the Sulfur Elementals main. And that's really skewed the metagame. And the number of pros who tested to beat White Weenie and are sitting there with their sideboards tuned to beat white and are going, well, yeah, there's a lot of red at the top tables. So that would be number one.
Sure. It's funny. You were talking to Luis Scott Vargas and Paul Cheon.
Luis Scott Vargas said, I feel they both played against White Weenie last round. They're really excited. It's the deck they had prepared for.
Because they're playing red with Sulfur Elemental.
Red, Sulfur Elemental, and they've got the main deck Fortune Thieves to sort of trick out against the deck. And they both played last round. They won, and But he said, "I wish we tested more against the red deck."
Wow. Yeah.
Because
that is the deck that's having the best tournament.
It's all over the place at the top tables.
Yeah, the mono red. A lot of people had red green. It's not clear people realized. And Paul and Luis are playing more of a red blue. It's not clear how many people realized you could just play mono red.
Right. Yeah. And then I think the reason people realize that they can play mono red is Blood Knight, and you want to hit red on turn 2.
Sure.
You can't sort of search for tomorrow into that second red.
And people are falling all over the place. They're trying to make Mountain turn 1, Forest turn 2, and they're having to search for tomorrow Raw turn 3 because they haven't got what they want. The mana issues are pretty grim.
What else have you seen as you've been walking around doing the podcast?
I think another thing that's really unsexy, okay, you may want to go to sleep now for a minute or two, is what I would call time management. We talked about margins being much smaller on the tour these days. Talking with Frank Karsten, we did a segment with him. He's playing a slow control deck. And he says when the clock starts ticking at 59 and 50, he's going, I've got to play quick. Because he's playing a deck that you go 1-0 down after 25 minutes. That's really tough to come back from. And there are a lot of control players, as they squeeze up towards the top, those control mirrors are going to take so long. The guy goes 1-0 up, and people are boarding in Plague Slivers. That's the big sort of out the board, rush, here's my Plague Sliver. I don't care about the damage. I'm going to try and beat you really quickly. And I think that's going to potentially choose a lot of matchups tomorrow afternoon.
Well, Kenji Samura has only taken 2 losses so far this tournament, but he's playing on the bubble.
Because he's got a draw.
Yeah. He's X2-1. He's playing.
And one of his wins was 1-0 versus Shota.
And that was an incredible match.
Yeah, we talked about it in the last segment.
Decking them out. I guess the big thing, though, is less about the players and more about the cards, which obviously you've been very involved with. And there's a kind of two-sided thing to this. On the one hand, this feels like a very old-style Pro Tour. We've got Wrath of God. Okay, it's black, but never mind. Still Wrath, and it affects the format as Wrath.
Right.
Then you've got Armageddon. It's red. It costs a lot. It's only half of a card. It's still Armageddon. That's around. That impacts the format as Geddon. You've got White Weenie. That's white. That's very bizarre. And then you've got red. Red deck wins, smashing the face with Mountains and Men.
So a lot of old school magic.
There's a lot of old school magic. Plus, you've got all the time-shifted cards. We've got Void in play. We've got Johnny Finkel. I think Johnny Finkel may easily make the top 8, even though he's not here.
There were a ton of Shadow Mage Infiltrators at the top table, and I think there were 5 in play over 2 matches.
Nice.
Table 1 and Table 2 last round.
There's some Kai Bude running around too. Yeah, like I've seen a couple of interesting mono blue decks.
Top table for sure.
That could be fun.
Darwin Castle is around in
He's
decks.
even playing.
Yeah, yes, and he's here in the building as well. I think pretty much the only iconic card from Time Shifted that hasn't really made it here is Whispers of the Muse, which is fair enough because you really can't tap out with 6 mana, even for a draw spell, when you've got Teferi in the foil.
You play Locket yesterday's.
I know, come on. Yeah, okay.
Tapping out very scary when Teferi exists.
What's that?
Tapping out is very scary when Teferi exists.
You don't want to do that. So that's all the kind of old side of the format. But then you look at the new mechanics. and suspend is everywhere. Look, we've got Pull from Eternity main deck in sort of blue-black X control decks because suspend is that important to the format.
It up. It's perfect.
Absolutely. You've got Flash everywhere. Hellkites are doing their thing. Teferi obviously is what makes those control decks so good. So in that sense, the new and the future stuff that's gone into Time Spiral and Planar Chaos has really kind of fused the format together in a pretty unique way. It feels old, and yet you're doing stuff that really hasn't been seen before. And sacrificing all your permanents to Gargadon, and then Fatal Frenzy to give it trample, and it's an extra 9. I mean, 18 points off that. That's pretty great, and that's new, and I think it's a really nice format.
If you had to play PTQ tomorrow, what would you play?
I play red-green because I think Montville Acid Moss is just a great spell.
Okay.
I really do.
And if you had to go to dinner?
Yeah, anything that isn't
You're going to
raw
embarrass
fish.
yourself on camera right now.
Nothing raw fish. Helen, at home, I've been eating such good food, it's not true.
We went out to sushi last night. It was amazing. The Otoro, what do you call it? I've seen it called fattiest tuna. I've seen
Fatty
it called
fresh tuna.
special fatty
Special
fresh tuna.
fatty
That was
fresh,
last
yeah.
night's description. Otoro, absolutely insane. This is just, this fish, I don't know how it keeps from dissolving in the water while it swims around. It's just...
Okay, boys and girls, here's the translation of sushi for you. There's raw fish, there's red raw fish, there's green raw fish, there's green and red raw fish, and then there's this kind of yellow thing, which may not be fish, but it's almost certainly raw. That's sushi, the world of sushi, brought to you here on MagicTheGathering.com. You're welcome.
Rich may have gone to the Hard Rock Cafe after our sushi dinner.
Bacon, double cheeseburger, and chips.
My first
Por
meal.
favor.
My first meal in Japan with Mark Rosewater.
Oh,
Pro Tour Yokohama, 2003. Hard Rock Cafe.
Good boy.
Not my choice.
Yes, well done. It is the correct answer.
I'm glad Randy drives the dinner plans now more than Mark.
Okay.
I
Let
eat
me ask.
pizza all over the world.
Let me ask the two of you a question.
Okay.
Never mind the decks. We've got 8 players coming back Sunday. Divide the world. Japan, Europe, US, the rest. Name them. How many we got? I'll kick you off. I'll give you a starter for 10. 4 Japanese, 2 Europeans, 1 North American, 1 other. Now, I've got to tell you, my 1 other was going to be one of Palavida Domodoros or Willie Adel, and that's not looking good right now. But
Willie's on the bubble this round.
Yeah.
I don't know how Paolo's doing.
So what do you reckon? Come on, give me some numbers.
I gotta say that there's a handful. I think you're doing North America a disservice.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Right now because there's a number of young American players who are all right up at the top tables. Brandon Burks from Columbus, Ohio is here playing in his first tournament, and he is, I believe, X&O, or was X&O going into the last round.
He beat Olivia, I think, unless I've got the wrong... no, it's Dane Young.
Dane Young is playing in the feature match area right over there.
Yeah, he beat
He's
Olivia last round.
playing in, he's played in a handful of Pro Tours, but not very many, and this is his... So I think there's some American players that you might not be familiar with
Sure.
that are going to surprise you this weekend. So I'm going to put 3 Americans in the top 8.
Okay, so who misses out?
3 Japanese, 2 Europeans.
Okay.
Well, that's the prediction from here. For Brian David Marshall, thanks for joining us, Rich Hagon.
Not a problem. See you later.
I'm Randy Buehler. We'll see you with more coverage of Pro Tour Yokohama all weekend long.
Your road to Worlds begins with regionals. This is your shot at a nationals invite. Your country is calling. Are you going to answer? For more information, go to www.wizards.com/regionals.